If you were a weeb in 2008 to around 2012, there's a high chance that you had this girl as your wallpaper, without even really knowing who she is. Every anime wallpaper site was full of her because, let's be honest, Black Rock Shooter is full of style and she got a really cute design. It tickles your inner edgy side, and often you would wonder, what is it even about? Where does she come from? Here's a super duper quick rundown. Fuke, the artist who also worked on something like Steins Gate, uploaded a drawing of her all the way back in 2007, shortly after Christmas. What a nice gift. People loved it, and especially Supercell, who then made a song about Black Rock Shooter with Miku, which went kaboom in views. You may know them from the first Bakemonogatari ending or one of the most famous Miku songs, World is Mine. At least back in the day. Nowadays people care more about mass memoirs and all that. And it just kinda snowballed into becoming its own franchise because just the style alone of it had so much potential. That also included a game for the PSP made by Image Epoch, the people behind my favorite PlayStation 3 JRPG, Time and Eternity. Maybe I'm lying about that, don't trust anyone. I would recommend Stellar Glow though. They also made that, and the name Stellar Glow is a little bit of a foreshadowing moment for this video. They mostly made JRPGs, so now you might think, wow, a Black Rock Shooter JRPG? That sounds great. But it's not a JRPG. There's a level up system, but that alone doesn't make a JRPG, right? Or else our lives would be one too. I think it's charming when people unironically say that they're leveling up on a birthday. You might think that's cringe, but to me it seems so pure. A person that isn't tainted by how irony poisoned the internet nowadays became. A person living their own life regardless of how others see them. So what kind of game is it then? It's a whole wild mishmash. The game gives you a great hint at how another game is very similar to it. A collab would actually work quite well, I think. Even though the massive milk jugs would be missing. During the battles it's a bit like an on-wheel shooter during the sections where it's not moving, so you can only shoot, guard or dodge. You just have to aim, and whenever an enemy does an attack, you dodge or block it. Sounds simple, and it is fairly simple. But isn't simpleness the thing that we all wish for in life sometimes? And despite sounding so simple, it can get fairly overwhelming when the game throws a whole bunch of enemies at you and you have to really think what to do since you can also overheat. This little meter fills up whenever you shoot or dodge. There's also no animation cancel, so once you press shoot, you will shoot for a bit before you can do anything else. You can't just shoot but actually have to think. Should I first wait and then shoot, or can I maybe shoot and kill the enemy before it does an attack? Every enemy also has a different pattern that you first have to check out before you can master it and never get hit again. Unless the game throws like 3 big enemies at you, that makes it really hard to keep everything under control. When you overheat you can't move around and have to tank every hit, unless you have the cooler item that repairs you instantly. Or just spam healing items if you're close to dying. That's kinda lame though, isn't it? So better keep your bar in check and don't just spam dodge or shoot. It's mission based but linear, so the game does not give you like 5 missions at once and you're allowed to pick the one you want, but to get to the next one you do the current one. After you finish up on missions in an area, you do a little boss battle and unlock free play for that stage, which is a bit lame. Towards the end of the game I tried it out to maybe get 1 or 2 level ups, but the enemies do not scale with you. You will just plow right through them like a truck on a Christmas market. That mode is mostly there for you to find the boxes that can give you new skills or finish up some challenges that the game has, like killing 20 of these or those enemies. Most of them you can easily do doing the normal mission style. Till you get to the post game and then get a whole bunch of new missions with new mechanics even. Like having to carry a ladder to your commander, but you're not allowed to be hit since it damages the ladder, and when the ladder gets destroyed you have to travel all the way back to pick up a new one. It really shows you how much it sucks to be a mailman. Even though that's still better than being a delivery driver, because those at least don't have to carry something that's really heavy. Sometimes I wish I would be rich so I could order lots of things that are very heavy and make their life even worse. I would be an evil rich person, but many people would say rich people are always evil, but I wouldn't be. When it comes to the story, every piece of Black Rock Shooter media is a bit different or very different. The game does not relate to the anime, so you don't have to watch it to get the full picture or the other way around. Here, Earth got messed up by aliens and 7 billion people died because of it. That's a lot of dead people. The only people left are a bunch of military guys that kept fighting, despite it looking so hopeless. Who are they really fighting for? Nobody. Except for the dream of keeping humanity alive, and sticking it to the big aliens. With the power of the Black Rock Shooter, that surely will happen after they finally woke her up, right? At first I was a bit annoyed because they do interrupt you with pointed chatter here and there, but I have grown to like them. They obviously wouldn't rank super high up in my list of characters, but in my list of souped up military guys, they would share a fairly high rank together because that's what makes it come together. Alone they're a bit lame, but together they're like the 80 naked cowboys in the showers of Ram Ranch. So it's perfect for fans of bromances. Their little military group is called PSS and it does not stand for piss. I didn't make it up, he says it himself, listen to this.
参ったな。PSS ってのはピスじゃないぞ。プライマリーサポートサービスだ。
You even get to their base and it's kinda comfy. Yes, it's a little fetch quest in a small area, but you really kinda bond with them through it. Most of them represent different countries like China, Russia and so on, and they get introduced with cool nicknames like Albert the Thinker. Chris was an ex-sailor, and then you got Hassan from Oil Country. And when you talk to him, he talks about how he needs oil. For some reason that made me laugh. Playing with oil is better than shocking a dog at least. They also organize a cool bike for you to drive, how could you hate them? I wish they would have really channeled their inner Kamiya and also included a flying stage. Since you're on your way to distract the enemies from your comrades who are preparing yours and their plane. You have to switch between the lanes and try to avoid enemies as closely as you can. Because if you switch close to them, you cut them in half and after killing 5 of them that way, your gun is loaded and you can blast through the middle for a bit. The timing is pretty forgiving, so it's hard to mess it up. I have to include a skill issue into all of my videos, so when the game told me to go left or right, I thought, oh, I can pick my path like an Outrun, how cool. And stayed on the street, but you were supposed to drive up the wall to avoid the broken street. Skill issue or me being stupid, I will leave that up for you to decide. These stages give the game the tiny bit of variety it really needs and also lacks afterwards. But we are all lacking something as humans. No human can ever be perfect. That would go against the whole concept of being one. One of the tropes I love is when an android, a cloned person or anything that wasn't really human before becomes more human over the course of a story. Mostly thanks to the people around them. It just warms your heart up, doesn't it? I have been rewatching Sora no Otoshimono recently, maybe that's why I'm enjoying it so much. Something that resembles a normal human that also functions as a weapon of mass destruction, trying to understand what it means to be human. The same goes for Stella, her real name. Calling her the Blackrock shooter through the whole video would get a bit long, something I can't relate to since I'm short in multiple places. At first she does not even know what an enemy is and only considers things that attack her as an enemy, so poor Lars and Dully, actually he's called Dali but in Germany we would say Dully because Dully is a funny word, die because of it, with her just standing around and watching it happen. I could never be mad at her because of how cute she is. It's a real thing in life, the cuter or hotter a person is, the more they can get away with. You know it's true, don't even try to deny it. You would want a cute person to ruin your life, not one you would deem as ugly. But a human will always be a human regardless of how smart or stupid they are. It does not matter if they're fat, ugly, hot, cute, slim, disabled and so on. Why would that be different for a clone or an android if they're growing up along with us? Obviously at the end of the day they are still different, but they would just be part of a different kind of human race family. A tiger is also just a cat at the end of the day. So why can't an android be a human too, just a bit different? A real human works a bit like an AI too. Let's go back in time after you were born. Imagine if I kidnapped you as a baby and then put you into a forest without any other humans and now you have to survive there for 18 years. How human would you be? We pass our culture on through memories, books, movies and all that. And obviously through human contact. Without a person helping us to grow up, we would also end up as something that does not know how to really work. We would still have our human emotions, but would we know what they are? What's this feeling in my chest when I look at this anime lady? Could that be love? It's how a cat that lived a whole life instead of a house knows how to hunt because it's built into the cat, but it can't compete with cats who lived in the real world when it comes down to it. And before you want to beat me up with a brick, no, I'm not an AI bro or anything like that. The way our AI shit works so far is not the kind of super technology that fiction has, sadly. Maybe it's for the better, or maybe androids really would take over the world. Luckily I'm a masochist, so I wouldn't mind it if a hot android lady would take me in as her slave. That's how the story goes here too. Stella learns more and more how to be human through her companions and their stories, even if they only live together for a few days. And about the Noah project, that was supposed to work a bit like the Ark he built. Taking a DNA sample from every animal, plants, humans and everything that can be considered a living being, so even if the real thing does not exist anymore, at least their copies can, who then eventually will become the real ones. If nobody knows they're a copy, does it matter? I personally wouldn't care, but maybe that's because the concept of it seems a bit silly and unrealistic, so my answer would maybe be different if it was revealed to me that I'm really just a copy. I like how the game is hopeful about its whole story, but also realistic in a cool way. 7 billion people being gone, with basically only 10 guys left. There was no hope and never will be again. Especially when the guy you hung out with the most is entering his epic speech about what it means to be human. How we should never give up. I actually really thought this would be a moment that goes the typical way of blah blah blah, the human spirit can't be broken, blah blah blah, but then he gets turned into ashes, just like that. It fits so well here. This makes me sound like I'm a nihilist, but I'm not. I love to live and stuff. The deaths of your teammates surprisingly hit me in a way I didn't expect it to. I think the isolated snowy fields of Russia helped with that. On a level design scale, they sucked ass because they try to be like the Lost Woods, without you being able to get lost since you got arrows leading the way. Come on, was this really needed? They put oil from a machine on the ground or boxes being all over the place to show you where to go, but then despite those things they even give you arrows so you can't get lost? Why not just make it a linear path since it's impossible to miss anyways? I know, these scenes will maybe look silly when they zoom in too much onto the models because of the graphics, but I think they also add to it. There is no real melodrama to these deaths, and that's why I probably enjoyed them. I don't like it when deaths are too drawn out with all the cough cough, I'm dying but here's tons of me speaking while I cough and snort while I'm dying and you act all emotional. Here just the cold hard truth of death, while they have accepted it with great camera work and the setting looks great for it. The falling snow, the destroyed parts of their plane, it's quite cinematic. I didn't cry, but it did make me think, damn, poor Hulk Hogan and his polar bear story. That short moment of melancholy kinda gets a bit ruined by the next boss being a sister and her brother that she uses to ride around on with, smacking him to heal up since he is a big masochist, and a ciscon, or maybe she's the brocon. Both seem to enjoy it, so I'm happy for them that they found love despite being evil aliens. They don't have to follow the rules we have, so can you really judge them? They got their own rules, probably, and in their world incest is fine, I guess. Now you might think the game will surely wrap up after that, but no, it goes on and I didn't mind it from a story perspective. It did suck me in and I wanted to know if humanity will make it somehow or if everything is doomed. Will she defeat the evil baddies and then end up being all alone? Could there be more survivors? Will she use the Noah project to revive humanity? And there was actually one more survivor that you now get to hang out with, which turns out to be her sister. A clone that was deemed to be less than stellar in her own mind. Because the doctor actually liked them all, but he kinda gave Stella the only name because she was the perfect clone kinda, even though she's not perfect, but you get the gist of it. So she didn't even get a name and she called herself Nana. I had to hold myself back here not to include a Japanese 6-7 joke, please be proud of me. Who is a bit of a bitch, but can you blame her? She felt like she got treated like trash, having to live in the shadow of Stella, who is also not to blame for it. What a difficult family situation. Luckily they do bond more and more, so Nana was just a bit of a tsundere about it. Even if she betrays you at every turn. That's just how older sisters are, sometimes, I speak from experience. That's not what I wanted to talk about, since I wanted to say something mean about the game. It does not do enough with the gameplay to keep you engaged for a couple more hours. There are a few new enemies, but often it's just the typical recallers who get one more attack now and hit a bit harder, while you still do the same thing with a few new skills you have learned at this point. You just activate your auto brain after a specific point and wish they wouldn't spam so many fights. The sad thing is, I don't even know how you could add something to it that would improve the problem. I was brainstorming and all I could think of is maybe a jump button. So you don't have to press the sickle button to dodge, but sometimes maybe press a different button to dodge an attack by jumping. So you have to read the enemy attacks even more. I don't know, it's just a bit boring when the game from the very first fight stays the same till the very last fight. At least the scenery is the opposite of that for the most part. At first you only see the destroyed streets of America and my patriotic heart was bleeding from it. I'm not American actually, you can probably tell by my accent. Then you go to Russia to enjoy snow, I miss it here. Before going to Japan and admiring the somber forest that is a total maze and enjoying your sister always picking the wrong path to waste your time with, but hanging out with cute anime girls is worth it if I can spend more time with them like this. I would love to have a girlfriend that doesn't know what directions are, so I can spend more time with her. And then you end up in the alien base in Tokyo and I love the architecture of it. Mostly because I really love chains. I'm like what Nomura is for people with a belt fetish. That's not all though, since you can also go to the freaking moon. I wish I could go to the moon. You know, you can't do much on the moon, but you could play maybe your Switch on there. My biggest disappointment, aside from the somewhat boring gameplay after a few hours, was how little screen time Nafe actually got. From all the bosses, she has the cutest design and you expect her to play a bigger role with how often she is shown in the little cutscenes, and she's the kind of character you think will betray everyone, but just like the other bosses, she doesn't actually play a bigger role really. They get a few lines of dialogue through their stages and then at the end you meet them and fight. With Nafe's fight being ultra annoying because she's weak but just summons so many of her little bunny robots that shoot and shoot. And at first you can't even attack her before you destroyed enough of her bunnies. It hurts me because I love bunnies. There's the act of neblading someone and it never gets explained in detail, but it's basically killing someone and taking over their memories. So these bosses have killed normal humans before and got their memories which shaped them a bit, I think. For example, there's one boss who was in love with another boss and now he's on the revenge path to kill you because you killed his girlfriend, and he also nebladed her to get her memories. And what he learned from it was that she underestimated you and that was her only regret. And now he wants to kill you to kinda make that regret go away even though she's dead, but you know, he has the regret now of it. This is all just guessing, but since these aliens look humanoid, I think they all try to also become a bit more human through the memories and their shapes. Since they do look like mostly normal humans, so I do think maybe they looked more alien before, but they kinda became more human through it somehow, I don't know. That's where the story aspect mostly goes into the direction of, think what you want. We are here for the aura farming and mystery aspect of stories. We don't have to explain everything. The big baddie is White Rock Shooter, who is wearing white instead of black and has red eyes instead of them being blue. She's the general of the aliens and came to Earth first as a human form who became a singer to make people happy, but then you know, she decided to kill everyone with her alien army, but before that she allowed the doctor who made Stella and the others to clone her to create a perfect clone to fight against. Why? Why not, I guess? She really just did all of that as part of her game, the game you just lost. But again, the concept of being cute is enough for me here. Look at her design, those long tall legs, wowie, the arrogance. I have a soft spot in my heart for ladies like that. And she wouldn't really feel out of place in a Neptunia game with her wings. Her fight is also fun, so that helps, and the music is great, and the atmosphere of the arena, it's the perfect aura farming final boss. Sorry for saying aura farming twice, but I have to keep up with the hip lingo that people use nowadays. When you beat her, the game comes to an end and I really like the normal ending of it. Earlier I mentioned the whole DNA and Noah project, right? She uses that to try to revive all the things that were collected. But the only thing you see are the polar bears. The ones that her commander told her about. It leaves you guessing, did she also manage to bring back humans? Maybe, maybe not, who knows? I prefer that over a super duper happy ending because in my opinion it fits it more. I like happy endings, but a melancholic fairly happy ending is also fine sometimes. There is a better ending, but I have to be honest, the normal ending was good enough for me for now. Grinding this game is like doing housework. Actually, I enjoy cleaning up, so that's a bad comparison for myself. It's not a game you should play for hours at end, but do a mission here and there and eventually you also unlock the bunny suit. Or the bikini. Because there's many things to unlock in the post game. And after you unlocked all that stuff, you probably pay a high sum for the bunny gold figurine too. Despite the simplistic gameplay, I would say it ranks fairly high on my list of licensed anime games just because of its style. It's a game that speaks to my inner self. Every once in a while you will play a game where you personally don't mind the shortcomings. You know what it is missing, but don't care. It's like a boomer with their wife. They will do the typical joke about how much they hate their wife, but in reality they do love her, I hope. Otherwise you can introduce her to me as long as she's still under 50 years old. Even though even women in their 50s can be hot, but it's like catching a shiny Pokemon. With that said, I hope you enjoyed the video and will have a good day, a good night or whatever fits your time zone. I'm now in the mood to also watch the old anime on the new one and collect every figurine that she got, which is probably super expensive, so I won't do that unless I would win in the lottery. I don't even play it though, since I would lose more money on that. Don't gamble, don't drink and drive, and well, you already know those things and don't need a random guy on the internet telling you not to do those. Bye bye.